Do you want to design your own iron farm, but you haven't quite worked out why the golems aren't spawning? Or maybe you have made an iron farm and it's gone completely wrong. Well, let me help you. I'm going to try and explain why and where and how iron golems spawn and how you can manipulate Minecraft mechanics to make more and more golems come for you for loads and loads of iron in your farms. Don't you go anywhere. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, depending on what time you're watching this next episode from me, Avomance, in my farm tutorial series. And we are in a long, wide, horrible looking desert. But that's alright. Today, we're not going to be making a farm per se, but what we are going to do is talk about the mechanics of how one really popular farm actually works. We're going to talk about an iron farm. Now, I'm not going to build an iron farm. I've already done one, and I am going to do another one in the future that's a bit bigger and going to give bigger yields. But what I want to do today is talk about why iron farms work, why do the golems spawn, and how you can make sure you've got enough information to get as many golems coming through as an efficient a farm as you possibly can. And we're going to base it around the golem mechanics. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So I'm going to get straight into it. So of the primary mechanics that you've got to understand to get a golem iron farm to work, one of them is the fact that golems spawn in villages. Kind of everybody knows that, sort of. But what do you think a village actually is? Well, a village is just a valid door that has got a villager looking at it. That's it. One valid door that's got a villager looking at it. But I've used a word there, valid. Valid is really important. Now, by valid, I don't mean that it's got its own passport. Oh no, I mean that it is valid in that it is considered by Minecraft to be the opening of a dwelling, the opening of a house. And the way Minecraft works that out is whether or not the light level on one side is the same as the light level on the other side of the door. And by light, I mean light from the sky, not from glowstone or anything like that. Now, we can manipulate that really very easily. So I've got a little strip here that is 10 long. So if I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I shove my door there. Okay, so that door is facing in that direction. Okay, now if I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so this is obviously the block that it's on, then 1, 2, 3, 4, anything up to that block, if I place another block anywhere from the floor of the door up to the sky's limit, anywhere in this strip here at all, that makes that door valid. Similarly on this side, it makes the door valid. Now it could be up here, it could be up there, all the way up here, doesn't matter. It could, if we wanted it, could be up here like that, on that place there. It doesn't matter where it is, as long as it is somewhere on this strip, which means that the light level on this side is different to the light level on this side. That makes the door valid. And once you've got a valid door in terms of light levels, you have to think about some of the other things that make the door valid, and that means villagers. So right here, we've got a villager. He's a bit rude because he's turned his back on me. So I'm going to come around and say, hello, Mr. Villager. Now that villager, even though he's not looking at the door, will have registered that door. And that means that this is now officially a village. Yep, this actually constitutes a village. Just one door with the block placed so as it creates a dwelling, and one villager registering that door. As long as that door is within the right number of blocks, and we're going to talk about that in a minute, that is considered a village. But it is not enough of a village to generate golems. To generate golems, you need at least 10 villagers and 21 doors. Weird number, right? But 21 doors. And the reason you need 10 villagers is because the village will generate one golem for every 10 villagers. So if you've got 10 villagers, it generates 1, 20 villagers, 2, 30 villagers, 3, and so on. Which is why some of the best farms for Iron Golem farms have got lots and lots and lots of villagers. Although you can get really good rates even with just 10. Sort of. But we'll come back to that in a bit. But that has created a village. But there's some other things that are a bit of a factor, and we're going to go on to that right now. The other thing that's really important is where the golems are going to spawn relative to the villagers and the doors. And that all depends on the village centre. And the village centre is the geometric centre between all the doors that are in that village. This is why you have to make sure you've not got doors near one of these iron farms and golem farms, because it throws off the village centre, which means the golem spawning section is way out and actually may not be anywhere near your actual spawner at all. So you're going to get golems spawning over the other side of the hill, and that ain't no good for anyone. So the way you've got to look at it is in stages. So you've got your villager, and the villager can see doors anywhere in a 16 block way away from them. So you can imagine this wooden section here, all of those doors, which are valid because of the blocks that I've put around the edges, they are 16 blocks away. So all the way to the stone slabs here is 16 blocks away from the villager. So the villager can register those doors, and those doors become valid and part of the village. But that doesn't mean that the golems are going to spawn inside that big area here. This is like a 32 by 32 square. It's massive. Golems don't spawn that big. Golems spawn in a 16 by 16 area, which is this pink section here, 16 by 16 area from the centre of the village. And the centre of the village is the square in the middle, but it's always the northwest corner. Now I've marked up north as being this pink block, and if I put on my F3 screen, you can see facing north. So I'm facing north in that direction, which is where the pink block is. So as a result of that, we can see here, right here, that this corner here is the northwest corner, and that therefore is the centre of the village based upon the structure that we've got all the way around here. And it doesn't matter where the doors are set. Hello villager. It doesn't matter where the doors are set. They are all part of this village. In fact, if you can imagine, the centre is there. We go up. There's your spawning platform for the golems. There is the area in which the villager can sense or see the doors, and they can sense them above their head a little bit and below their feet a little bit as well. And here, spawning right out, all the way out, you can see where those blue stripes are. Right there, those blue stripes are the area within which a door will be considered part of that village. Yeah, you've got miles and miles of space within which doors are considered part of the village. It is 64 blocks away from the centre of the village. If you get a door in there, it is considered part of the village, which means that you can't put doors anywhere near the villages, because it ain't going to work. And if you've got any wooden doors whatsoever that are already there, maybe they're part of a pre-existing village, or maybe they're part of your villager breeder or some other such thing, or other iron golem farm, it's going to mess it all up. It's going to throw the centre. However, if I go out beyond this 64 blocks, so here, that's 64 blocks, if I was to then come along and get another door like there, and shove a door, there's the blue, and shove a door there, that door would not be considered part of that village. That is actually considered part of a new village, on the assumption that I've got another villager that is looking at it close enough and a block that makes it valid. That then becomes a brand new village, and then if there are 10 villagers associated with it, we'll also spawn another golem with those 10 villagers. So you get a golem from that, and you get a golem from that as well. So that is how you can start to build more efficient iron farms. I'm going to talk about that in just a sec. So we've already learned how to make a valid village. You can see here we've got a villager, we've got a door, we've got a block that makes it valid because it is within those 5 blocks. So that is a village. Now, if we were to put a door there, that becomes part of the village. If we put a door there, it becomes part of the village. If we put a door, 16 blocks in that direction, it becomes part of the village. We also know that the centre of the village is there, right on the northwest corner of this particular block, because that's the door. That's the village, right? So that is where the centre of the village is. Now we can move the centre of that village by sticking a door there. Now that door is also valid because of this block, but what it does is it moves the centre of the village, because now we've got 2 doors. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 blocks. So we know that half of 6 is 3. So 1, 2, 3. The centre of the village is now that corner right there. That is the centre of the village, which means the village has been shifted in that direction. So what we can do is we can manipulate the mechanics of the game by getting villages to start to overlap, to not be 64 plus blocks apart. We can actually make them get closer. And the way we do that is we go all the way outside of the village. Bear in mind that our village centre is now there. That means that if we go 64 blocks from this block here, all the way out here, where you can see we've got another little villager, and we put a door there, that door is now its own separate village. So that's a village, and all the way over there, that is a village, because they're far enough apart to be separate villages. But if I then come along here and I go almost halfway, it's not quite, it's sort of halfway between the doors, but because we've moved the centre of the village in that direction a little way, if we put a door here, that door then becomes part of this village here, part of this village. And because it's part of this village, that means that we can then delete this door, which is a little bit cheeky, delete that door and come all the way over here, and that centre of the village is now there. It is the centre of the village, and that is within the 60 odd blocks. So the centre of the village is there. We can go even further. If we come along and we put a door there, that means that we've moved the centre of the village to halfway between these two doors here. And then if we delete this one, that village centre has now moved again to this block here. Now that's really cool. Now you can keep going. We can stick one there, because it is still closer to that door than it is to the centre of that village. We have to wait a few seconds to make sure that it gets registered. Minecraft says, oh right, then that one's part of that village. Then you can delete that door, otherwise all you do is you get it sucked into the other village, and that's rubbish. And then that one becomes the new centre right there. We can stick another door there. You can see that then has a centre of there. We can delete that door. Then if we come along and we put a door on that block there, that is now obviously the centre of that village is right here, still further away than that door there, so we can get rid of that. If we then put another one, it's only 1, 2, if we put another one there, that is then closer to that door than it is the centre of this village, so that is still part of this village. We stick that there, and then we can be ultra cheeky, stick that door there, give it a few minutes for that to be considered part of the village, and boom, we get rid of that door, and we've got 2 separate villages. Seriously, 2 separate villages. One has got its centre here, and one has got its centre here. And now what's really funny is if you get rid of that door, we've still got 2 villages. One has got its centre on the corner of that block, and one centre on the corner of that block. And that is the principle behind which these massive iron farms that have got like 16 villages or 32 villages or whatever it might be in their makeup, which means that each individual village spawns 1 golem per 10 villagers, which is absolutely mental, obviously. That's why you get such huge yields from those big farms when the doors are all together in one lump. It's because the centres of the villages have been manipulated so as they can sit next to each other. And you can repeat that, going wide in that direction, and wide in that direction, as far as you want. And if you've got a villager in the middle, like this, you can have, it can go quite a long way. You can make massive pods for the golems, which is, it's pretty cool, really, isn't it? But there is one proviso, and I'm going to talk about that now. So what's really important is that the villagers keep clocking these doors. They have to keep looking at the doors and keep maintaining them as separate villages. If they ever despawn, and the entities that are the villagers ever despawn and go off the Minecraft grid, that means when they come back on again, they're just going to see all the doors as one village again, and it's going to reset, and that's a nightmare, and you don't want that. So you need to make sure that these things are constantly loaded, and the way you do that is to ensure you make these in the spawn chunks. That's why you always get the big YouTubers like Tangotek, etc., with his Iron Phoenix, saying that you really need to make these in the spawn chunks. The Iron Titan is probably the famous one, isn't it? That one has to be done in the spawn chunks, otherwise it just doesn't work. It ends up being one blooming great big village in the end, and your rates of golem production drop through the floor, and that is not what anybody wants. You get approximately 1 golem every 6 minutes per village. Just one golem every 6 minutes per village. So if you've got 10 villages, that's 10 golems every 6 minutes, that's not bad. That's not too bad. That's like one every 36 seconds. That's a pretty good rate of production of iron. But if you've only got one village, like your thing despawns and it then respawns again and you end up having only one village, that means you're going to get one golem every 6 minutes, which isn't nearly good enough. And one golem will drop between 2 and 5 or 3 and 5 iron blocks. Forget the poppies or the roses, but they drop between 2 or 3, depends on which wiki you read, and 5 iron blocks per golem. So if you're only getting one golem every 6 minutes, that means you're getting 10 golems an hour on average, which means you're getting between 20 and 50 iron ingots per hour per village. So you can imagine if you get 10 villages into your thing, you're getting 20 to 50, which is, it's just loads and loads more. Or sorry, 200 to 500, which is loads and loads more. Do 20, that's like 400 to 1,000, which is loads and loads more. So you make sure you're doing this in the spawn chunks. However, there is one more thing you've got to remember. And the one thing you've got to remember is that whilst redstone will keep working in the spawn chunks, what does happen is entities stop thinking about stuff when you're not nearby or something isn't active, even in the spawn chunk, which means that you've got to have something basically making it active, which is like entity based. So, and the best way to do that is to create a kind of timed dropper system, so it shoots out something, like spits out a single item every 10 seconds or so. That will then reset the entity clock, which is about 20 seconds I think when you leave the chunks, and that will make sure that the villagers are always kind of alert and looking at your doors and making sure that it's still considered to be a valid village or multiple villages. Isn't that right, Mr. Villager? Yes, you have to be kept alert. So that is the secret of the golem. That is why you have to be so careful when you're placing your doors and what's around you and what else is going to be interfering and not putting villager breeders nearby and all that kind of stuff. It's all really, really important. So there is some basics about the Iron Golem and what you might need to think about a design for a large Iron Golem farm or even a small Iron Golem farm. You don't have to go and have a 16 by 16 platform. That doesn't matter. You could have a 10 by 10 platform. It would still work and spawn the Iron Golems, definitely. You just wouldn't get as good an efficiency. So think about these things, because you can actually design some really clever iron farms based on all of these mechanics. So go away, have a think about it. Maybe you can think of some really good ideas and let me know what they are. Maybe make a video on it. Maybe take a picture and tweet me on it. Something like that. It'd be really good to hear from you. If you have enjoyed this video, please don't keep it to yourself. You make sure you tell me in the comments below. I'd be really, really welcoming of any comments you have. Maybe some expansion on what I've already said, which would be really good. And maybe it will teach me something as well. Don't forget to hit the like button. Hitting the like button really makes me know that I'm doing the right thing and your videos are exactly what you want them to be. And also, if you haven't done it already, make sure you hit that subscribe button. It will be great to see your name in my sub club, and I look forward to seeing you in another video. You take it easy now. Bye.